the things I really like about this setup is how he's got the triangle canted a little bit towards the target so that the hands are over the golf ball without opening his shoulders a long ways. He could try to get the left arm a little higher by moving the left shoulder a little closer to the ball. This is probably going to go a little bit left, and that's okay. It's going to be a nice straight shot. We like to see a nice straight line down the left side and a little bit of a K pattern on the trail side. And you can see that, how the lower body and the upper body form the legs of the K. Let's go ahead and watch the takeaway now. A little forward press to get started. Taking the hands back, everything back in one piece. Getting pretty good extension right there. You can see the triangle staying pretty well set. Good. I'd like to see a little more hinge of the wrist at this point now, and the club then would be a little bit more open. Right now the club face is not parallel with the face of the forearm, and it really should be. I should be able to see more of the face of the club. And that would happen with a better hinge of the right wrist back. See that now, still we don't have an open club face, and he's overdone his right arm, which means he's overbent his left arm. Let's see what he does now. Gets the parallel, doesn't get past it. That's good. It's going to drive into it. Now we're still opening the club a little bit on the way down. That's there. Now you can see the club is opening on the way down. And he's lost his club leg. At this point now, the club should be completely set. At this point now, the club should be here. He's what's called casting, or throwing the head of the club at the ball. And as strong as he is, he can get away with it, but he's going to gain a tremendous amount of yardage if we can just get him to hold his leg a little longer, so that as his hands reach waist high, the club is still up at 90-degree angle to the ground. Also notice we haven't had a lot of lateral shift into the yellow line. The lower body hasn't moved into it. At this point now, his thigh should be all the way across the yellow line for maximum thrust. And we don't want to see the breakdown of the triangle right about in here. You see it breaking down a little bit. That's because he's trying to force the head of the club to the ball. Good rotation, good extension down the line, right on through to a good finish. So about the only thing I'd work on is a little bit more club lag. You got the club lag there. Try to move that L that he creates into one place. See how it broke down? And again, we want to have the L, which is here to there, stay connected a little longer. Okay, this is one of our senior golfers. He's standing a little too erect and a little too square. And once again, we want to get a little bit of a tilt away from the target line, a little tilt that way with the spine, so that his spine is a little bit more on that line rather than so straight up and down. Just a little bit of a tilt would help him a lot. Let's watch the takeaway here. Good solid takeaway, getting a pretty decent turn, keeping his legs fairly well set. But what he's not getting, and what he wants to have, is more power, and he's not getting the club set up to this angle here. It's sitting out on this line there. That will not give him any power. And as he comes back down to the ball, you'll see that's the part of the club he swings first. So now that he's coming down to the ball, he's even lost more power because there's no wrist hinge, and you could still have that club right now on that white line, which is going to maximize his power and let him get the leverage that he wants to have. And then he's going to turn into the shot, and see, he just kind of doesn't have a lot going on. Now, granted, that was his practice swing. Let's see what he does on his real swing now. We're going to clear everything out, and here he goes. He's probably going to emulate that same thing. We have a tendency to do what we rehearse. Actually, he moved more, and one of the things he did was straighten his right leg, which he didn't do on his practice swing. He did get a little bit more wrist hinge, which is important, but because he's straightened his right leg, he's actually shifted all of his weight back to his left side, and he's not going to get any momentum coming forward. So he gets stuck right there. That's where he's losing the power. So we're going to maintain the leg, see if we can move into the shot without losing the leg. See how the leg is going away, and when he gets to here, again, we want that club sitting more up like that, so he can lever that club into the release point and get those hips rotating that direction. That direction. There we go. Okay, we see we have the head behind the ball. The left ear is directly over the golf ball. What we don't see is any forward momentum or forward press of the hips. We'd like to see the right side of the body a little straighter up and down. Let's watch the takeaway now. Pretty decent takeaway. His head staying pretty still. Moving a little bit away there, not bad. I think he's got the club a little too far behind him and his head's a little too low, but not too bad. Now let's see if we get some momentum into the lead side. Now we're going to move into the lead side. Here we go, moving in, but the head's leading the swing. Can you see that? How the head's well out in front of the swing there. And then he's going to have to pop up to make contact with the ball, or he's going to stick the club too far in the ground because he's coming in too steep. Look how narrow he is right there, and instead of having a nice smooth arc. So then he ends up flipping the club a little bit and then rotates to the shot. So the rotation isn't too bad. We just got to get the head back and try to get the width in the takeaway. See where he is in the takeaway, way out there on that arc. So if I draw a circle on that arc, there's his takeaway arc. Now let's see what happens on the way down to the ball. See how he comes so far inside that right away? Pulls way in. So we're not getting the width on the takeaway that we're getting on the backswing. See, he's way outside the circle on the backswing. See, outside and then right inside, really steep. So we get a little more of a circular rotation of that golf club. From this face-on view, you can see that the club is sold behind the ball, and the ball is behind the golfer's head. The ball needs to be somewhere in front of that white line, or somewhere between the left ear and the shoulder or armpit area. So we got to get this guy to get a little bit more tilt away from the target. Once again, get the shoulders more on that line like that instead of so square. That's going to make him come in shallower and not take such a big divot and not risk topping the ball. So let's see what happens on his takeaway. Pretty decent takeaway up. See, now he's starting to slide outside the feet. We don't want to get to a position here where the chest is pointing up in the air, that the right knee has made it past the, the left knee has made it past the left hip. We want to keep a nice wide stance, keep that foot planted solidly on the ground, and develop a straight line here for the back, rather than that reverse C that we've got going on there. That's going to make it really difficult for him to make good action back to the golf ball. So he's going to come forward. He's going to try to get rid of the C right there. He does a pretty decent job, and then gets kind of stuck and ends up kind of scooping the ball off the ground. You can see his right hand is well under the golf club there, right on through to the finish, and never gets those hips rotating around, never gets a chance to throw the belt buckle to the target. Okay, we've drawn in the spine angle, 46 degrees. It should be closer to 30. So he's bent over a little further than needs to be. Shoulders are open, the lead arm is above. We've also drawn in with the white line the swing plane, and that's where we want to see the club head go back on. So he goes a little too far to the inside, and notice how he lifted up a little bit. See how he's lifting up right away on the backswing. So if he started out taller, he wouldn't have to lift up to get comfortable. So now you can see he's well below the swing plane. What I'd like to see is him to get high enough so that right elbow is up on that white line. The club a little higher, and then he won't have the tendency to drive outside and over the top. See how the initial move is way out and over? Instead of from right here, just taking the club head, dropping it down, and arcing it back in. That's really what we wanted to learn how to do, is take the club head, drop it down, and arc it back in, and then around on through. See what he's doing is he's going just the opposite direction over the top. Nice thing about it is he ends up in a pretty decent position right there. Look at that. So he's got great hand-eye coordination and turns through the shot well. I think he'd do a little bit better if we could just get him to get his hands a little higher on the takeaway. One of the things we like to see with this left-handed golfer is that the lead knee doesn't move so far inside the lead hip. And if you'll notice, it's outside the hip now, and as he starts back, he's going to all of a sudden just bring it drastically in there, right there. He's bringing it inside that lead hip. That's kind of an old-fashioned swing, and it used to work a little bit, but the modern driver of the golf club is staying much more solid, much more balanced on the lower legs, keeping the triangle set. That helps him get behind the ball better and drive into it. Let's see if he is able to turn that right knee out quickly on the follow through. He is driving it out quickly. Moves the head a little bit, not bad. I think his head's going to stay quieter if we can get that the triangle of the legs to stay a little more solid than they were. There's a little bit of scoopy there. See how it's underneath and scooping it a little bit. We're really going to try to get him to just rotate the hips more aggressively through. He has to scoop it because the hips haven't rotated as much as the shoulders have. We get him to work on that, drive the left knee to the right knee a little stronger, a little more aggressively. Notice it never quite gets there, and it still hasn't gotten there. We got to get that left knee moving to the right knee. In this setup position, you can see that the club shaft is running almost parallel to the trail arm, and we want it to run parallel to the lead arm. We've got to get her to have a little bit more tilt back and move those hands further forward and get those hips shifted and the shoulders not level. The right hand is lower than the left hand, so the right shoulder needs to be lower than the left shoulder, and the right hip needs to be lower than the left hip. So watch what she does on the swing. Kind of has to lift up there because there's not a lot of room to move. So now she's up higher. Let's see if she comes back down to the swing. Never drives back down into the ball enough. And there's that chicken wing. The triangle is broken right about in here. The triangle starts to break. The triangle made by the two arms and the shoulders. Breaks the triangle apart. We're not turning into the shot. Then she turns later. This is where she should be right now, is where her body should be. Right there is where her body should be at impact, her lower body. So her shoulders are out turning her hips a lot on the way through the ball. On this down the light view, we can see the golfer's bent over a little too much. His head is kind of drooping down. I like to see the head come up and straighten the back out a little bit. And then we get that angle back up to 30 degrees where it belongs. Let's see what he does on the takeaway. Again, there goes the left arm out and away from the body. We don't want to see that. The head's even going down lower than it was. Now, the good news is that his hands have stayed inside the triangle that he created at setup, which is the triangle that's shown there right now. That's pretty good. And that the right forearm is parallel to the spine, where the spine was at setup. That's a pretty good move right there. Then he's going to drop the club down pretty nicely. See how it's coming underneath, and we're getting it parallel to the trail arm as he comes through, and a little lifting right there. And that's this instinct. We think we got to help the ball up the ground, so we try to stand up and lift it up. Really want you to be going down at that point, down into the ball, not up. Everything was great until just about right there where he starts to stand up. Up he goes. People may tell him he lifts his head, but you notice the head is right back where it was at setup. It's not the head that went up. Look at his spine angle. It is now straight up and down. We got to get that spine angle back on the original line, not on that straight up and down line. This golfer's been keying on a feel, and the feel is that the left elbow is going straight back. Well, we know that feel isn't always real, but the feeling can sometimes make us do a better performance than just worrying about mechanics. Now you'll see mechanically that the club is going pretty far back to the inside. But you know, as long as you feel like you're on that plane, it makes it much easier just to return the club right back to where it was. Now notice the rotation here. Notice how the hips are coming through. A lot less chicken winging. Not a lot of scooping. Look at the rotation of that right hand. You can see the fingers of the glove hand or the lead hand pretty early, and a great rotation to a good finish. Again, feel isn't real, but feel is what we're going for. We try to kind of match mechanics with the art of the whole thing, and I would rather the guy feel it than do it mechanically. Fortunately, the sun is behind us here, but you can still see she's got a great setup, that there's no gap on her lead side. It's straight down at a nice angle. It's got a good shift into the lead side. Ball is off the left instep. It's got a good shoulder tilt, good triangle set up with her arms. Let's watch the takeaway now. A little bit of a lifting there. You can see, looking at the tree line behind her, that she's lifting her head quite a bit. Good triangle there, good angle. See how she's maintaining a little bit of a club angle, driving that hip into the lead side. Then she quits. Keep driving into that lead side as you're coming into that shot, and you're going to be much happier with your result. Drive into it. See, she doesn't quite get it going, so she ends up having to flip it a little bit and doesn't quite get all the way through. Now, at this finish point, what we want to see is we do have the right shoulder and the right ear up on that line, but this hip hasn't made that little transition into that white line. Okay, this golfer starts in a pretty good position. We got a swing plane drawn in there. Let's watch the takeaway, nice and easy and slow. Notice that it's staying on the yellow line, pretty nice. The club's just a little bit outside the yellow line. It should be more even with his hands, but not too bad. He's going to go to the top of his backswing. Now what we see here is the flying out right elbow. We'd like to see the right elbow to the ground. His triangle is broken. You can see that the triangle that he has set is kind of wide apart. If he was like that at setup, he'd be very uncomfortable. So we're going to get him to get into a little better position at the top of his backswing. Now he's going to start down. His initial start down is pretty good. It comes straight down. Then he gets to about here, and the lever angle of his right arm pushes the club outside so that the club ends up more parallel with the front arm than the back arm. And then his hands end up well above the line. And when he finishes, instead of finishing with the club back on the swing plane, he's going to finish with the club up in the air like that. So he's well above the plane, and again, he's got the flying left elbow now. So what we want to have is we want the club to exit on the same line that he is at setup and at the backswing. Okay, we drew in the swing plane here. What a good setup. Very nice posture here. Let's watch what happens on the takeaway. I'll have to keep my hands nice and quiet. Look at that, straight up the line to a great finish. The right elbow is staying on his plane line. He's a little bit above the plane coming down, but he ends up right back in the spot very, very nicely. Drives right on through the shot and makes a nice turn. One of the things we will look for is we want the club to exit the shoulder on the plane line also, not above it like that. That's going to be an indication that you got a better turn through the shot. So work a little bit on your exit. Try to get this foot all the way up on the toe with no pressure. You can see you still have a lot of pressure, and I can't see the spikes on your shoe. We'll work on that and see what happens. All right, let's take a look here. Let's undo this. Let's go back to the top. What we want to see is a little better setup here. We've got to get the hip closer to the white line so that he's got a little bit of a spine tilt away from the target. The spine tilt should be more on that line right there. What's going to happen is he's going to get behind the ball on his takeaway and never get back to that white line. As he moves forward from this position, the belt buckle has to make it all the way to the white line, and it doesn't. See how it just kind of stays back, and he ends up with a lot of weight still back on the back leg. And he's actually looks like he's falling backwards a little bit instead of momentum forward. We see a pretty good setup here. 142 degrees is ideal. 147 isn't bad at all. Let's see what happens when he takes the club to the top of the backswing. Hands are going back nicely. Maybe a little too far under the club, but not too bad. His head is staying nice and quiet, still on that plane line. Now he's going back to a pitch or a chip. So he's not getting a lot of wrist hinge, but let's see if he works the club back through the impact. See, right back, look at that, right back on the impact line, very nicely, right on through to the finish. What we're not seeing is any up and down movement, and we do need to have the body drop down to the golf ball to get a little better contact. We have a golfer here that's doing a little bit of a Mo Norman setup here. He does have the left arm higher than the right arm, which is important. It's got a good straight line for the single plane swing, but we're not getting any dynamic leg action into the shot. And what you'll see here is he's kind of swinging the club around his body a little bit, and his body's not really doing anything. The hips are really late, and we need them to be moving to the target a little bit more aggressively than that so he can get some power. He's not getting any of the power that he deserves to get out of his golf swing. All right, let's take a look at this golfer. We got her at a really good setup position. Let's wind her back to the setup. 31 degrees, 30 degrees is just about perfect. We don't see a lot of dynamic action in the legs. Good little takeaway right there for a little pitch, little tiny pitch down. But see how the back isn't going down. We really want to fall down to the golf ball. Does pop it pretty good though. Gets a nice little lift out of it. Right on through to a nice short finish. Good job.